I've done a video on Canadian mechanized infantry before, but it was focused mostly on the rifle platoons. In this one, I'm going to dive into how a specific Canadian mechanized company was configured for deployment to Latvia in 2022, with a larger emphasis on logistics. But there are a few caveats. First, the Canadian Army has 3 infantry regiments with active duty battalions, each with 2 mechanized battalions. I'm told each of these regiments do things a little differently. The basic doctrine of unreinforced companies and such should be universal, but given this is a task organization, it's heavily affected by differences in SOP. The specific unit being covered is Alpha Company, 2nd Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry. Second, this is a task organization specific to the Latvia rotation in the second half of 2022. I'm not saying this is how things were for any other rotation or operation, but I have managed to fact-check with a few Canadian service members. And third, Canada wishes to have 2,200 persistently deployed personnel to Latvia by 2026 to support a full brigade. With that out of the way, the Canadian Mechanized Rifle Company consists of a company HQ, 3 rifle platoons, and a task-organized logistics element called an A1 echelon. The company HQ will generally have 3 LAV-6 infantry fighting vehicles. 1 for the company commander, 1 for the company's second-in-command, and 1 for the LAV captain. The company commander is, as the name implies, the commander of the company. It's an infantry company though, so in combat the commander often dismounts. When that happens, the LAV captain can fight the empty LAVs, called the Zulu LAVs, to reduce the span of control of the dismounted leaders. Each rifle platoon also has 1 LAV sergeant who does the equivalent at the platoon level. This allows Zulu platoons to conduct semi-independent actions after their infantry dismount. For example, conducting a delaying operation while the infantry prepare defensive positions, transitioning directly from support by fire to pursuit, or rapidly reorienting if the dismounted company comes under attack from an unexpected direction. On the defense, this also supports LAVs sighted offset from the dismounts to take advantage of their longer effective range. The Company 2IC, meanwhile, mans the company command post pretty much detached. They're ready to take command of the company if the commander goes down, but in the meantime, acts as the link between company and higher and keeps track of the battle. I'm just going to briefly touch on the rifle platoons since I've covered them before, but there's some things to point out. Doctrinally, a mechanized platoon has 4 LAV-6s, a platoon HQ, weapons detachment, and 3 rifle sections. Rifle sections are doctrinally 3 crew and 7 dismounts, and weapons detachments are 4-man, for a total of 40 soldiers by the book. However, in this case, the platoons were organized as smaller 35-man units. Basically, each rifle section was 1 man short, and the weapons detachment was only 2 men. The latter tidbit is afforded by giving the depth section or platoon's second echelon the Carl Gustav recoilless rifle to use as needed, while the weapons detachment just employs the C6 machine gun, their version of the Mag-58. The company also had 4 automatic grenade launchers and 4 tow missile stations available to it, generally used in defensive situations. On exercise, one of these platoons was swapped with a Polish tank platoon of PT-91s to form a combat team, Canada's term for a combined arms company task force equivalent to an American company team or British company group. But on to logistics. The Canadian Forward Logistics Scheme is split into 3 echelons: F, A, and B. The F echelon are the people and equipment required to fight the battle. This includes combat subunits like the Mechanized Company. In Commonwealth speak, subunits are companies, units are battalions, and formations are usually brigade and above. The A echelon is responsible for the immediate resupply and maintenance of the F echelon. It's task organized from the subunit's own quartermaster elements and the battalion admin company. This is normally split into A1 and A2 echelons. The A1 is the forward element that's more or less part of the company. It generally waits safe in harbor close to the F echelon and moves to a pre-designated point to conduct a hasty delivery point, offloading rations, fuel, and ammo. The A2, meanwhile, collects supplies from the B echelon via delivery or commodity point, or directly from the brigade's service area and distributes it to the A1 echelon via a delivery point. The B echelon is generally a brigade service battalion or task-organized forward support group, which acts as a link between the theater-level logistics and the fighting battalions. In Canadian terms, the A echelon would be the first line sustainment, B echelon the second line, and theater logistics the third line. But in any case, the A1 echelon here has been reinforced from the battalion admin company, as mechanized companies should only have about 3 or 4 MSVS cargo trucks organically. The battle group order of battle shows 2 G-wagons, one for the company quartermaster sergeant and one for the transport sergeant, 4 MSVS cargo trucks based on the Mack Caracs for ammo, rations, water, and the like, 1 AHSVS truck based on a Mercedes-Benz Actros with a fuel tank rack, 1 AHSVS heavy wrecker for recovery, and 1 MSVS mobile repair team vehicle with an SEV workshop shelter. 1 mobile repair team carried in an LSVW based on an Iveco VM90 is also listed on the Orbat I have access to, although I'm told these have probably been phased out of Latvia deployments. As well, there's a semi-distinct element called a fast pack that I think is technically part of the A echelon but somewhat different. Here, it's shown to contain the company's Sergeant Major on a LAV-6, which isn't standard to the company as far as I know but can be included, a Bison recovery vehicle, Bison mobile repair team, and Bison ambulance. Company Sergeant Major for you Americans is like a first sergeant and they do roughly the same thing. The element is basically for immediate recovery of vehicles and casualty evacuation in combat situations. The CSM's LAV can provide protection to the A1 echelon if required and conduct a hasty resupply of a platoon in contact. For this, they'd carry a combat load on board and scuttle back to the A1 to replenish. If any engineer assets were attached to the combat team, they would typically co-locate with the fast pack as well. Thanks for watching. Depth section is a reserve of videos I'm building up, and until I post them, they're exclusive to Patreon supporters and YouTube channel members corporal and above. This video was actually decided on in a Patreon NCO poll. So thanks for supporting me, making this all possible, and I'll see you on the next one.